So far? Okay, let's do a little bit of formatting. Let's see, what do I want to delete here? Okay. I'm actually going to delete a lot of these. 3, 5. What I want to do. Okay. I'm kind of cleaning out my report to get it back to pretty basic. Okay, I'm going to add one for a patron group. Trying to remember. Oh, patron detail. Okay, just to take a quick look at what we see. So here we have all the various different kinds of patrons. And fiscal year is still there. Okay. So we kind of I think we might have demonstrated this morning, but if you can move columns around, and actually let me. I want to think about where I need this to be. I'm actually going to have this be in a couple fiscal years here. I'm just setting this up. Oh, but we sorted loans. Can you unsort something here? I'm going to change this. But when you sort on the results tab, can you undo that sort, because it changed the display by sorting in the results tab. I think I'm going to just add this back in.
One way is by sorting by one of the other columns.
Yeah.
Oh.
To set that as the primary sort.
That would have worked.
Like I think it when you first create the report, it'll automatically sort by your leftmost column, and if you sort by that again, it'll get you back to your original formatting.
That makes sense. Okay. Okay. So now, oh shoot. Do we not have any loans for criteria? This should have included all the fiscal years, right? It's not behaving. And I'm going to delete this. Okay. Okay, so we have one fiscal year, but I added back in locations. And we have all of our patron groups here. So you notice this column is merged, and these are all separate. And you're going to see duplicates, like staff is here, staff is here, staff is here. If we change the order of our columns, and you can just click and drag them over. Oops. Why did it do that? Okay. Now we have our patron groups are merged, and all the locations are separated, and so you have, graphic novels shows up twice. So the order that you put your columns in the results tab affects how you see things. So that's one point for display. Okay. So there's some things now we filtered for, and we really don't care about seeing them. So that's another thing that you can do for your how you have things display. And there's two ways you can do that. You can either delete it here in the top column. So we have filtered for a fiscal year, but I'm going to actually delete it right here. Now, so deleting it here is going to affect the display, but my filter is still in effect. So now we no longer see it over here. So that's one way of doing it. The there is another way to do it where you just hide a column from the results tab. So if we go back to criteria, you do it in criteria. We want to hide the in-house loan indicator. So one of the, when we hover over this drop down, one of the things we didn't talk about yet is column properties. So we're going to click on that, and there's a lot of tabs you can look at here, a lot of different things that you can do. We saw briefly Todd did some conditional formatting where he said if you have this result in this field, highlight that cell in a certain color. But what I'm going to do here, is hide it. Where's the hide button? Oh, there it is. I totally know where this is, and it's just disappearing. Isn't there a hide button here?
I usually do it in
Yeah,
the
I
results.
usually do
In the results. Okay, I just did it in the wrong place.
Yeah, there might be a way here, but yeah,
I just forgot where it was.
I'm better at looking at results.
Edit. That's where it is. Wait, I haven't done this in a really long time. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Scroll
Um,
down, I think it's under those individual columns.
Let's edit, right?
Hidden.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you can also right-click the column as well and get that option. You can do exclude column.
Yeah. Okay, so there's 3 ways you can do it. I'm sorry, that was a little convoluted.
I usually do it the first way, but then at least you can scroll down and see it's grayed out, I think, if you want to add it back.
Yeah. So there's 3 ways. Let me just go back over this. So there was, in the criteria tab, you can actually delete a column from here, but leave a filter in the bottom. And in the results tab, so I did this kind of quickly, you can actually edit things in the results. So this, we're going to edit title in just a second, but this edits the table part of the results. And there's a lot of different things we could do here with layout, but we actually went to edit a certain column, which I don't want to. So we had, we hid one of the columns. So you could click on there and hide it. So those are 2 ways that you can do it. Okay, so that's hiding columns.
Hiding columns becomes really useful if you want to sort by a particular factor, but you don't want that factor to show up in the final report. Like the big one I use it for is fiscal month key, because then it'll give it'll assign numbers to your fiscal month to months according to their placement in the fiscal year rather than their placement in the calendar year, and you can sort it by that. But then you have a whole column of numbers that you don't necessarily want to see in your final report. So if you hide that column, it'll keep the sort, but exclude the column.
Okay. Okay, so you can rename columns. So for example, loans, I want to make it more obvious that this is both loans and browses. We're going to go to column properties and do a custom heading. So this was, we hovered over the, let me do that again. We hovered over those 3 lines and got our menu of options. We did column properties. It opened up to this first tab, but I'm going to column format. In order to be able to edit this, I had to click custom. So if I unclick it, it goes back to the default. So I clicked custom headings, put it what I want it to be. So it shows up both here and I believe also in the results. Loans and browses. So especially if the ALMA or analytics name for something is not that obvious, you can rename it to whatever you want it to be.
A quick comment there.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're, that can lead to some confusion if you're copying from someone else's report report, and they've renamed a lot of those folders, so you kind of want to make some adjustments.
Yes.
It doesn't have the original name of what it is on the side.
That's true,
Very
because
rough, but I didn't realize what you just showed right now. You can restore it to its original name if you just uncheck that box.
Yep.
That's a good
so we
thing.
go back to column properties, and column format is the second tab. Yeah, so if you click back, unclick that custom headings, you can see what the initial,
Yeah, sometimes if
name
you just
it.
want to understand how they built it, you really want to know what the original name was.
Yeah. Did people hear that? Okay. Great. I'm going to add it back in. Okay. So back on the results tab, we can also edit the title. Right now there's no title, except for, actually I'm going to go back for a second. It's still untitled. If I haven't even saved this report, so we're going to save this in our training. Okay. Okay, so I named the analysis. This is its name in analytics. If you're going to the catalog, this is how you're going to find it again. I think when you name the report, the title here defaults to what you named the report, but you can change that as well. So you uncheck this display saved name. So the saved name is what you've, like the name of the report in analytics, but we can change this. So I have a slightly different name here, and I'm going to click done. And so now, when I run the report and see it, it has a totally different name here. I'm going to go back to edit here. You can also add subtitles, which can be, I'm not sure if there's a character limit. I think they can be pretty long. So if it's a complicated report, it's really helpful, especially if you're sharing this with other people, to put as much description in there as you can. So let's say I could say, we did not in-house lens. So actually, it's funny, when I edited this column name, that's actually not accurate because we filtered for just not in-house, so it's actually not browses. So I can go in and edit that now. Oh wait, I just did the wrong thing. Cancel.
So I have this report and I want to copy it and tweak it to create an additional report. So how would I copy it?
Oh yes, let's do that.
Is that someone else talking about that later? How to build off
Yeah,
of
it'll be,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now we have done, we've played around with moving columns back and forth and how that affects your display. We've talked about renaming, we've talked about hiding columns in a couple different ways. We've talked about renaming column headings, changing titles and adding subtitles just so that you have really good details. And I think, how are we doing on time?
11:30,
11:30. And we go till 12:30 total?
12:15.
12:15, because we want some time for questions, and also I think we're going to leave some time for you to do some experimenting and we can wander around and answer questions. Is that right?
Yeah, plus we'd
Oh,
like
and
to
you
go
have,
through the
yes. Okay, let me just show
catalog pieces
one,
and stuff.
yeah, let me show one last thing and then hand it over to Todd. So we mentioned before how when you export to Excel, the fact that all these lines are merged is sort of problematic. Because then if you want to sort things in Excel, it doesn't work. So there is a setting to not have things merge. We ended up with a merged library name. So you edit column properties, go to the second tab, column format, and it's right here, this value suppression. I'm not sure why they call it that. That's not very intuitive, but repeat kind of is intuitive. Like you want whatever this value is to repeat on every single line. So I'm going to do that for here and for location name. So column properties, second tab, change that radio button to repeat. I think those are the only two. Oh, patron group we have to do as well. So, so you see how now Trinity College, every single thing is its own line, which is great. So we need to do patron group as well. So column properties, second tab, and repeat. And now when we go to results, so these ones are all, must be like no patron group, but then all of these others, even though they're repeating, they're each in their own line. So when you export it to Excel, you can work with it much more easily. Okay, now you have to leave enough time for Todd.